This is your blind techno geek that explores iOS and Android, and today we have what's on my iPad. Getting ready to sell this thing actually, so that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to get this done pretty quick. So I'm not showing the first page because I actually have a personal note on there with a phone number on it that I don't want you guys to see. So on my first page I have Hokusai Audio Editor, which is actually pretty good. I described that on the What's on My iPhone, so if you definitely want to check that out, that would definitely be awesome. One of these days I'm actually going to post an audio sample from that because I've written some songs, but I haven't copyrighted them yet. But as soon as I do that, I'll be posting some samples of what I can do on Hokusai. And I have a game called Home Quest, which is a text-based game where you find yourself in the middle of nowhere and you're trying to build a new home, and there's different tribes all around you, and some are friendly and some are not. Turns out a friendly tribe is a bad guy, so,
Find my
just stuff
photo,
like
photo,
that.
photo
So,
booth.
starting with Photo Booth, of course, I don't want to show you the native Apple apps that are there.
Find my. Double tap to open. Shortcuts. Clock. Contacts. Translate. Voice memos. iTunes Store. Magnifier. Tips. Amazon.
Of course, now
Double
it's got
tap to
its
open.
own built-in magnifier. That's something that it has not had before. There's, I believe it's like a magnifying glass where you actually use the camera to magnify objects around you.
Tips.
I don't
Double
need
tap to
any
open.
of that, so I really don't use it enough to know how it works.
Amazon.
But I'd
Double tap
most
to open.
certainly be willing to do some research on it if somebody else was definitely interested in it. I have Amazon here.
Anchor.
Anchor, my podcasting app that I'm actually going to take off because I don't think that I'm going to be podcasting anymore now that I've started this channel and I've put all my time and my energies into it.
Apple Store.
Apple Store is self-explanatory as well.
Audio games. Your resource for audio games. Games for the blind. Games for the visually impaired.
Now that's a website that literally has given you all of the audio games that have ever been available, not only on iOS and Android, but also on Windows and I think Mac as well. So it's definitely an awesome resource.
Backgammon.
Backgammon, I described in the What's on My iPhone. That is, of course, the classic board game. But it's an iMessage game. You can play it over Game Center too, but I prefer to play it directly over iMessage only because it's easier to get notifications. So you get notifications on Game Center, but honestly, iMessage is just so much easier.
BC 4000. Double tap to open.
BC 4000, I think it's one of those other text-based games where you're trying to build stuff.
Bible Gateway.
Bible Gateway is self-explanatory.
Choice of games.
Choice of games. Now, in my What's on My Pixel, I described that Choice of Games is one of those really awesome hubs for text-based games. A lot of them are paid, but there are a couple that are free with in-app purchases. So, Choice of Games I highly recommend if you're into that text-based game stuff. If you're not, that's okay too.
Choose your face.
Choose your face, I described in What's on My iPhone because I don't think it's available on Android. Basically, it's a game show where you are an emoji. You get to choose which emoji you get to be. And each emoji that you click on has certain amounts of money. And basically, you're trying to get as much money as possible. So it's kind of like it's almost a gambling game, somewhat.
CT Mayor. Recently updated.
CT Mayor.
Voicey. Now. Voicey. Hardester underscore published a new voice. Take picture.
You're trying to build your cities and plan your cities and stuff like that. I really haven't gotten much into it.
Decision Fiction.
Decision Fiction is another hub for text-based games. For some reason, I've been locked out of my account. I forget my password, so I'm probably gonna have to create a new account.
Diary. Double tap to open.
Diary is personal diary. And I was using that for a long time until I started doing Voicey, and that basically became my diary at a certain point in 2020, but at the beginning of 2020, I was definitely using personal diary. It is fully accessible with VoiceOver, and just in case you were interested, it is available on iPhone, iPad, and it's available on Mac. And I prefer to have a keyboard when I'm using the diary, and so I'm basically mainly using it on the iPad right now.
Discord.
Discord is another one of those chat platforms that's for gamers, and I described this in my What's on My Pixel and What's on My iPhone.
Disney Plus.
Disney
tap to
Plus is
open.
self-explanatory.
Dusk. Double tap to
Dusk
open.
is, I don't know why I have that on there because it's an old game, hasn't been updated in a while. I think you can play multiplayer, but it's like a game hub as well.
Fitness.
Fitness is Apple Fitness.
GarageBand.
GarageBand is Apple's music making studio, and I only use it to make ringtones because everything else is very confusing on that app, especially on the mobile platform. I still haven't figured out how to use it on the Mac either.
Goldwave. Double tap to open.
Goldwave is another audio editing software. I haven't figured out how to use it, and I might actually start using it to audio edit if I start to either make some beats or like just start podcasting again. I think that's why I ended up getting it.
Google Duo.
Google Duo is, of course, Google's video calling app, which I described on my What's on My Pixel.
Galactic Colonies.
Galactic Colonies. The game keeps crashing. I'm still waiting for them to do an update on the iPad version. You can play on iPhone, iPad. You can play on Android. And honestly, I only recommend that you play on Android because of the crashing.
Page 2 of 4. Adjustable. Page 3 of 4. Lost in blindness. Posted games.
Let's go to the beginning of the page here.
Hosted games.
We've got hosted games here. That this is definitely one of those game hubs for text-based games. I think Choice of Games and Hosted Games are actually affiliated with each other. Don't quote me on that, but I saw something somewhere that kind of hinted at the two being affiliated with each other.
iMovie.
iMovie is Apple's movie editing software, which I described a project that I used iMovie for. It's an audio project, actually. You can not only do videos on it, but audio as well. And I may start using it for the YouTube channel only because it's very easy to use. And it just gives you a ton of editing ability. It's just more work. I YouTube the lazy way, guys.
Instagram.
Instagram is self-explanatory. And guys, I'm also thinking that I need to create an Instagram account for this YouTube channel. And that way I can take a picture of whatever product I'm reviewing or talking about on a given day and say, guys, this video is coming. And it'll be public so that anybody can find it. I do have a new Facebook page if you're interested, called See You Later Technogators. I'm still in the process of making it, so I do need a profile pic for it. Other than that, speaking of communication, I do have a Twitter account for this. And I think right now it's called See You Later Technogators Podcast because I created it when I was trying to do my podcast and promote that back in 2019 when I first started. I've got a Gmail account for the podcast as well. It's blindtechnogeek@gmail.com if you do want to contact me via email instead of leaving a comment on my video.
Just press record.
Just press record. I bought this recording app, as I explained in an earlier video, when I wanted to record on my Apple Watch before voice memos ever became available on the Apple Watch.
Keynote.
Keynote is Apple's, I think it's more like PowerPoint maybe?
Latest additions to the
I
Apple
just
Vis
don't
app
use
directory
it.
online Apple Vis.
Of course, I got the latest addition to the Apple Vis website on my home screen as well so that I can keep looking up new apps.
Launchpad. Double tap to open.
Launchpad is a beat making app, and honestly, I haven't been making as many beats on Launchpad. I do want to use other software, especially on a Windows machine. My Windows machine should be coming in on Wednesday, so bear with me. I will be definitely posting a lot of content out there of certain things that I download to my Windows machine.
Lost in Blindness. Double tap to open.
Lost in Blindness is an archaeological game where you get to dig for artifacts. And for some reason, I haven't been playing it very often.
MeWe. 11 new items.
MeWe is a Facebook alternative that I described in my What's on My iPhone. And it's also available on Android. If you're gonna use MeWe, here's a couple of pointers. You're gonna want to use the app with an iPad that has a keyboard. because if you do not do that, sometimes the text fields will disappear when you're trying to create a post. And it happens with some users, and some users get to post even on an iPhone without a keyboard because you're actually like jumped into the text field as soon as you try and create a post. So, without further ado, I am still going to plan on sending some feedback over to MeWe. I've already sent some feedback, but honestly, I don't feel like they've heard me. And my friend Brittany uses it too, and she's having some issues, and I definitely need to contact them.
Multipath. Double tap to open.
Multipath is another game hub for text-based, actually not text-based games. They're audio stories instead of text-based story games.
Numbers. Double tap to open.
Numbers is like Microsoft Excel. I've used it a little bit on a Mac, but if I were to be totally honest with you guys, I prefer Excel more because I'm used to it. I use it for work pretty regularly. So definitely, I would probably prefer having the Microsoft Suite on one of these iPads.
Pages. Double tap to open.
Pages is like Microsoft Word, and I've definitely used that a lot on the Mac because I used to write papers. I used the Mac all throughout college, and I also used it for some pleasure writing as well that I've put into my iCloud.
Perceptron. Double tap to open.
Perceptron is one of those idle games where you actually get to build a neuro engine. It's boring in some cases. Sometimes if you're really bored, you just play it and then leave it going. The only problem is when some of the tasks that take like 5 hours are done, it doesn't send you notifications. And I have asked for that feedback actually. Like I've given feedback to the developer about that, but I don't feel like he has heard me either.
Pluto TV.
Pluto TV is self-explanatory, as I mentioned above. It is your basically way of watching free live TV without the need for a cable subscription. You do need an internet connection to use it, but most of the time I actually use it on my Roku TV.
Prime Video.
Prime Video is also self-explanatory.
Seed Ship. Double tap to
Seed
open.
Ship is a game. It's a text-based game where you're in a spaceship that looks like a seed. You're in hyperspace. Basically, the concept is that the Earth is just destroyed. And actually, you don't play as a human being. You play as an AI that has been built into the ship that is trying to find an inhabitable planet for all of mankind who is in hypersleep on the seed ship. So it's actually kind of fun when you're bored.
Serenia.
Serenia is another text-based game. I don't know, for some reason this game stresses me out, kind of like Untold does, where you're in battle. Apparently I'm not a huge battle game type person. I'd rather play games like Seed Ship where you in Seed Ship you're trying to avoid like space type destruction, whatever can come at you in outer space. But I think battle based games can stress me out, and I do have anxiety and depression, so that might be part of it.
Soccer Boss.
Soccer Boss is where you get to play as the tycoon of a soccer team. You own the team or club. I've not done a lot with it, but I highly recommend you play that and CT Mayor and CMDC on the iPad because you play those games in landscape orientation.
Telegram. 2 new items.
Telegram I have on here. I've been keeping up with Telegram messages on all of my devices. The only one that's signed into a different Telegram account is my Blind Shell phone, because I have my Blind Shell number in there. So eventually I'm going to be switching over to everything being in the Blind Shell system, and switch my Telegram account over to my Blind Shell number on all my devices. But more apps have to be added to the blind shell for me to do that. And I'm also dropping Verizon because it's way more expensive than Gen Mobile, which is what I have for the blind shell.
The Chosen.
The
Double tap to
Chosen
open.
is, of course, this show has become like extremely popular. If you are interested in a show about Jesus's life, The Chosen has been, I mean, it's been spreading like wildfire. So I have the app so I can watch the episodes on my iPad. I think I may have it on a couple of my other devices. I'll see when I get to the what's on my devices for my other tablets.
Tubi. Double tap to open.
Tubi is your Tubi free movies and TV app. That's another app that's kind of like Pluto TV. I don't use it as often because to me it's not as accessible, you guys, as Pluto TV is.
Universal Paperclips.
Yeah,
Double tap to
Universal Paperclips. Ugh, all you do is make paperclips, and this AI will make paperclips for you, and it'll just run in the background. It's kind of fun.
Untold.
That's a paid
Double tap to
game.
open.
Untold I described in the What's on My Pixel, and that game does stress me out too because it relies on battles and stuff like that. But I don't know why I still have it on here.
Voloco. Double tap to open.
Voloco, of course, my biggest music making software. I want to make beats of my own, but I have been writing songs to other people's tracks, and it has been so much fun, especially from the iPad.
Word Finder.
Word Finder is just that. Literally, it's a word finder game, and you do pay, I think, about $1 for it.
YouTube. 6 new items.
YouTube is self-explanatory as well.
Zoom.
Zoom is also self-explanatory. Everybody and his brother started using that when COVID hit.
Roll the Bones. Recently updated.
Roll the Bones I described in my What's on My iPhone game. iPhone. It's another dice game, and it can be fun. But I think one of the things that is a little bit boring about it is it lacks sound effects, and I think I probably need to send some feedback and say I think this would be a fun game if either one, we get sound effects, or two, we get a multiplayer mode where you actually like get to roll against each other, see who gets like the most points in, say, I don't know, 10 turns, something like that.
QQ Mail.
QQ Mail, I don't know why I still have that on here, but it's another email app option where you can sign in, but I think it's actually made by the same developer as WeChat.
Lost Vault. Recently updated.
Which is another WhatsApp alternative based out of China. Lost Vault is another one of those games where you get to build stuff on like a barren wasteland. I have not figured it out. It's confusing to me, and I really do need to figure it out because definitely I want to get into more games.
Page 3 of 4. Adjustable. Page 4 of 4. Page 4 of 4. DD Heroes. CMDC.
I do have CMDC on here, yep.
DD Heroes.
DD Heroes, Dungeons and Dragons, which I'm not really like playing right now.
Facebook. 2 new items.
Facebook, self-explanatory.
Messenger.
Messenger is also self-explanatory.
Skype iPad.
Skype for iPad, absolutely. I'm actually logged into my Skype account right now.
Voicey.
Voicey is another one of those music making apps, only Voloco has full beats. Voicey just has loops of beats that you can do stuff with. It's almost like TikTok, where you get to make just 1-minute videos.
Swarm. Recently updated. Double tap to open.
What did that say again?
Voice. Swarm. Recently updated.
Oh, Swarm by Foursquare. I got that today and had a hard time logging in. But one of my Facebook friends, who happens to be a customer at the company that I'm working at right now, is uses that all the time. And I thought, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. And she's fully blind with a guide dog as well. So it's pretty cool.
Page 4 of 4. Adjustable.
Okay.
Swipe up or down with one finger to adjust the value.
And that is all for today, folks. Thank you for watching, and see you later, Techno Gators.